Ahem, hem, 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 hem. Hem. Hello. What's up, everybody? Ooh, crusty. Just got back from Japan. Let me know if you guys can hear me okay. I just want to make sure the audio is working before I say anything. Should be standard practice. I should always ask that. Instead of getting 5 minutes in and not having it work. So is it, it's working? Seems like it's working okay. Audio's great, says Ben. Good. Excellent. Thanks, Ben. Gordon's here, and he's asking a question right off the bat. Let's get into it. Well, first I'll show you my new T-shirt, because it's pretty cool. Check that out. It's my Steve Vai green Meanie T-shirt. You only got one thing wrong on the guitar. Can you spot it? Let's take a quiz. What's wrong on the guitar? Get my chain out of the way. What's the one thing that they didn't get right on the guitar? All right, let's see if anybody gets it. And in the meantime, I'm going to answer Gordon's question. He says, your thoughts on the new Helix. How was the feel and upgrade with the new amp modeling? I thought really good. I only tried it there. So I set up sounds basically on I don't have one yet here. I'd like to get one and mess with it more, but I don't have one here at the studio. So I just tried it at Line 6's facility, dialed in some sounds there, which is kind of cool because that's sort of what they wanted. They wanted me to come in and dial it in there, you know? And then, so I basically I wrote 5 little riffs here, recorded them on my phone, just, lo-fi so that I would remember them when I got there. I went over there and then plugged in, dialed in some sounds, and then played those riffs. And it's just like little 20-second pieces of music. For those that don't know what I'm talking about, it's like a little video I made with Line 6 for YouTube Shorts and for Instagram. I can show you it really quick here, and you can see what I'm talking about using the new Helix. So there I am. And they show each amp. Like that. Yeah. And I thought it sounded really good. I mean, it's cool. All the, speaker sounds and everything I was using in the box. I wasn't using any IRs or anything. And it was very nice. So I'd like to get one and try it and see, how different it is, of course, but not around that much. So, okay. So let's see. Before I move on, I'm just looking through the chat here to see if anybody gets what's different on the guitar on my T-shirt question. But let's highlight this question for a second. Feel and upgrade. I mean, I think comparable to Fractal. I mean, I think the Helix has been comparable to Fractal for a while. I mean, to be honest, I think the original one and the Fractal are quite good. The one I've got an original one here in my desk, and I've got an XFX3 as well. Yeah, I think once they did their new cabinet modeling, which was quite a few years ago now, 3-4 years ago at least, on the original, that brought the Helix up a notch. I felt like before you needed to add an IR to get it to sound, that much more realistic. I mean, there's like a big marked difference, to me, marked difference in the tone of the thing when you used like say a Celestion IR or something like that. Which XFX gave you the capability to do as well, but it also had just better sort of ones that came with it or whatever, like the cabinet stuff that was built in, I think. But now once they've upgraded that in the original Helix and now with the new one as well, I think all these devices, I've said it before, but I think they're all very good and quite close to one another as far as it just depends on your your personal what you like and the form factor and stuff like that. There's a lot of other factors besides like the sound quality or whatever that will determine. You might like the sound of a certain one over another one, but I think they all sound comparably good, if that makes sense. Just like you might like the way a BMW drives more than a Mercedes or a Lexus or something in some way, the feel of it, or but they all are good vehicles that, so you have to bear with me today because I'm a little, I woke up at 5 a.m. Yeah. 5 weeks in Japan will do that to you. Okay. Let's see here. Has anybody got the answer? What's different on this shirt? Let's see. I was trying to put my name back up on the screen here, and I don't know how to do that. How do I just put my name back up here? And that's so weird. Comments, browser. How do I do that? It's just, they've changed the streaming software a little bit, and so it's like banners. Pete Thorn, there we go. We'll pick that one. And it's like now it's all a little different. And so it's like with anything these days, they add features and then you can't figure out how to use it anymore. And that's happening in StreamYard all the time. There's all kinds of new things you can do in it. Oh, the world moves too fast for me, especially when I'm jet lagged. Okay, back to the comments here. Let's see. I have HSS guitar. My bridge pickup is a bit harsh. I'm looking for Jeff Becktone, Thornbucker Plus. Well, if you feel like it's harsh, I'd actually probably go Thornbucker 2 because it's going to be probably the warmest. Not that any of them are bright and cutting by any means. An Alnico 4 magnet to me is just very balanced. It's not like as bright as an Alnico 5. Alnico 2 is even warmer though. So if you want to darken it up a bit, go for the A2 and the Thornbucker 2. Give that a go. That's what I would say. More Guitars says maybe the shirt. This is for those just joining, my green Meanie shirt. And I was asking, what did they get wrong on the picture of the guitar? It's a great shirt. I love it. But there's one little thing that isn't where it doesn't look like the original guitar. What is it? I noticed it right away, but I love the shirt. It's not the Pia model. No, it's definitely the original green Meanie Charvel. Yeah. How has touring with Steve Vai changed you? It's a really good question. I learned numerous things. One of the things that I learned from Steve, I'll pass this on to you. One of the things I loved about playing with Steve, and one of the very first things that I noticed and that I learned, and I told him this the day after, 2 days after he did it. We were talking about a particularly difficult section of music in a song. And, when a difficult section of music is something you're learning and practicing in rehearsals, and maybe you get it and then the band runs through that part of the song again or something like that, and there's a problem, and then you revisit it and go back through it again, or even just to entertain the possibility that, oh, this is really, like the anxiety of like playing a difficult piece of music or something like that, right? And we were kind of referencing that and talking about it with this one piece of music. And there's always potential for chaos and things to happen on stage, right? But sometimes we'll float those things, right, as guitar players or as drummers or as bass players or whatever, where you'll bring those things up and put it out there in the air. And by doing that, even maybe you manifest them into happening, like issues. I definitely think that that's a thing where, like, oh no, what if I do this? And then you actually do it because you just thought of it and your brain actually makes you go there on the guitar, and it's a mistake or whatever. So to try and the mind is constantly like, fight or flight stuff going on. And when you're in the heat of the moment or playing or creativity and stuff, it's nice if you can shut all of that off. Like I remember I'm going to get back to the original point, what I learned from Steve in a sec, but I remember when I was a kid learning really difficult passages of music or speedy things or whatever on the guitar. And I was amazed at like, how am I doing this? Like as I'm doing it, right? And it was clean and I could play, lines and stuff really fast, but it was just in there, but I wasn't really thinking about it. And I was aware of it while I was doing it. Like, isn't it amazing that I can do this stuff? It's almost like anything that you learn, practice, get it under the skin, the neural pathway is formed or whatever, and then it just happens. Like, we don't think about, I always use the example of when you're driving somewhere that's particularly, maybe like to a friend's house, and it's like, oh, you got to turn right here, go straight 2 blocks, take another right, take a left, go down the alley, go over here. The first time you learn how to do it or whatever is difficult. Maybe the second time, or not difficult, but you're following a map or instructions. Now we'd be following a map. This is one thing about, and there's a parallel to be made here too with charts. But if you follow maps on your phone and you just do that over and over, you kind of maybe never learn the way there or remember. But back old school, we used to just learn it, right? I mean, you'd like, be following the Thomas Guide in LA or something, like following, but you internalize it eventually. And eventually, like with any set of directions, you just remember how to do it and you just get there. And you don't know why you remember, but you just do, right? It just happens. Well, I compare that to learning difficult pieces of music or lines or things like that. It's very similar to me. It's just a series of directions that, and I'm not talking about improvising here, but to a degree, because, even when you improvise, you're probably, the things that you're coming up with, probably you've internalized some of those lines before, and now you're just spitting them out in the form of, I feel like doing this right now, right? And but anyway, I digress. So as I always do, especially when I'm jet lagged. The point being that we don't know why we learn how to do it or how we're doing it. I mean, we don't know. We know why we learn how to do it, but we don't know how we're doing it necessarily. But we just do it. You get it, and then you don't even need to question it. You just do it. And then sometimes as I got older, maybe like there'd be this voice in my head, like, what happens if I forget that line? Or something. Do you ever have that happen? Like, what happens if I get to that part of the solo and I don't remember it, And that never like happens really, right? Like, I mean, it's like when you don't think about it, you get out of your own way, you can pick up a guitar and you can just play the part, right? And it just happens. Maybe if you haven't touched it for a long time and maybe you need to go over it and sound check or something like that. If it's a solo you haven't done in a few weeks or even a year or something like that. But then it's in there and then the neural pathways fire of it, and oh yeah, that's how I did it, and then you do it. So back to Steve. We were talking about this one particular difficult piece of music, and like, oh, if we get there and like, oh yeah, if this were to happen, that'd be a real problem. Like if we were to get off track or whatever. But Steve did this thing where he goes, but that's not going to happen. So that's not going to happen. And just by not manifesting the thing into existence, it's like he doesn't give it any air. You don't give it any air, And I learned, maybe it's something I knew and forgot, but I relearned it or whatever from Steve. Really, like, let's not give that any air. Like, it's not going to happen. And so I mentioned that to him. Like, I love how you said that. I said it in the car one day on the way from the hotel to maybe the second or maybe it was the first gig we did in York. I remember sharing a van over to the gig, and I said, at sound check or at rehearsal or whatever the other day, yeah, it might have been before the first show, I said, I learned my first valuable lesson from you. And he was like, what's that? And I mentioned you did this thing where you don't give it any air. That's not going to happen. And he goes, yeah, well, why will something into existence? He goes, other things are going to happen. Which is true. Like, he's like, so why, like, and this is a life metaphor too. Like, if we can worry about things so much in life, and oh, what if this were to happen? What if that were to happen? Oh no, like that'd be, and we spend a lot of our time worrying about stuff, and a lot of that crap never comes true, right? But other things happen, unexpected bills or a health thing pops up, or just things you got to deal with, right? Like, and like with anything in life, like, guy I really trusted, someone said to me, of course things are like, that's life. It's just solving a series of problems, basically. It's not like of course they're going to happen, and it's all in how you deal with it that sort of determines your success as a human being, right? As things come at you, how you kind of bob and weave and stuff and deal with things coming at you, and then other things are going to come at you, and you continue to to deal with it. So anyways, and Steve said, yeah, other things are going to happen that we can't even predict, gear issues, you break a string, so this, that, the other thing, things are going to happen. But why like worry about, oh, potentially what if this were to happen or that were to happen? It's like, it's not going to happen. Just as long as you're prepared, if you do the work and you're prepared, there's no reason to fear these things, So that was a very, very, very valuable thing. And, the learning some of the music was quite challenging. I mean, this thing, the first time I've ever played one of these live, a 7-string, I've never done it. And within a relatively short period of time, I had to get that down and play beside one of my idols, and not only play beside one of my idols, but harmonize a solo with him, on that thing. And then straight out of the solo, go into a really difficult line where Marco and myself, bass and guitar, are playing a double fast, intricate line with double bass stuff going on, right? And straight out of that section, I'm doubling Steve an octave up from the main melody, and he's down an octave and I'm up an octave, playing the exact same thing as him. Big chords stretched all the way across all 7 strings sometimes, daunting stuff, and like, you let your mind get away, out of control. You might be freaked out in those moments. And instead, you just dive in and do it. You do the work, you learn the parts, you internalize the music so that you can fall back on your, your musical mind, like telling your hands where to go physically and all that. And then lo and behold, when you put enough time in and practice enough and just work, and internalize it and play standing up and do all the things that I know I need to do in order to be comfortable, you play your first show. And at the end of the first show, if you've done the prep and practiced hard and believe in yourself and all that, you go, we came out the other end of that. I think that happened. We played the show, and I did it. And, all the problems and all that, that's not going to happen. That's it. So that, it was a thing that I didn't take lightly at all, this gig, when it started to come about, when it seemed like it was actually going to happen, it was coming into fruition. And I realized right about now, I better start taking this very seriously and working hard and putting my mind forward to. That was about 3 or 4 months before we even ever got together for the first time. But putting my mind to thinking about, like, I got to get my head in the game. And that's the way that happened. And yeah. And so just, the discipline I had to kick into, I think post-COVID, I got comfortable with, not comfortable, but it's not like I haven't worked hard. I have, but do I work as hard as I used to? I do now, but maybe for a minute, like post-COVID, it took me a minute to kick back into gear. But certainly, like the Satch Vai gig was one where it's like, let's go, because I'm not as young as I once was and all that. And it was like, doesn't matter. Let's go. You know how to do this, and here we go. One more ride, and learning a bunch of new music and sounds and the whole 9 yards and digging in and stuff. But that's what I do, So, I mean, that's it. So, okay. Todd says you're wearing too much cologne and should leave immediately. So this is something that happened to me the other day in Japan. I'll just reiterate the story really quick. It was such a weird thing, man. I found this great coffee shop in Japan, and I'll just I won't tell the story I'll speed it up. But I found this great coffee shop, and there's a thing in Japan where people don't like strong cologne or perfume or anything like that. I wasn't wearing any cologne on this day. Occasionally, I'll put a little bit on when I want to smell extra good. But on this day, I'd just gotten out of the shower. All I can think of was I put a little bit of crap. I put a little bit of crap in my hair, because got to do that in order to, you get up in the morning, put a little stuff in there to make it, And I went for coffee right away. And this was gig day the other day in Tokyo. So I had to be back at the hotel in like a half hour. I had a set amount of time, just go to get a coffee, fuel up and stuff, and then get over to the venue. And I went in this coffee shop, and I'd been in there 3 days in a row. And it's a really nice shop, man, with like, it's a record bar coffee shop. So all LPs on the wall and stuff, beautiful JBL speakers. They play cool jazz, and the guy roasts the beans right there in the shop, and stellar coffee. I mean, really, really good. I'd been 2 days in a row and put up a really nice post on Instagram about this guy's coffee shop. And said, I just love places like this in Japan, the attention to detail. I mean, it's just awesome. And this cat was not the friendliest guy in the world, that's for sure. From day one, he was like a little standoffish. We cracked a couple jokes the first time we went in. I was with my friend Dennis the first time we went there, I remember. And Dennis speaks fluent Japanese, so I'm broken Japanese, but we're ordering in Japanese and the whole 9 yards, and not being disruptive in any way, shape, or form or anything like that. And being respectful and everything. But the guy was just kind of stone faced and stuff. But I got the coffee and I took one sip. This is day one that I was there, and I was just like, whoa, I think this might be the best cup I've had in the last 5 weeks on this whole trip. It was just amazing. Went back the next day, got another one. Great. This is the third day. I go in there fresh out of the shower, and the guy was roasting beans. So he's back by the roaster doing his stuff, and he's working, and he looks at me and kind of comes over, and just a little bit of a, maybe I'm interrupting in the middle of what he wanted to be doing, which was roasting. But hey, dude, you're here to make money, right? So tell me a cup of coffee and I'll be on my way. So I ordered a hot milk latte onegaishimasu. Hot de mochikairimasu. Onegaishimasu. Which means for takeaway. And he looked at me and he said, your perfume. I'm roasting beans too strong. And please go to another coffee place. I'm not making this up. And I was like, wakarimasen, which means I don't understand. And I started to just go into English because my mind starts faltering, and I'm like, I don't understand. I'm not wearing any perfume. I'm not wearing anything. And he's just like, yeah. And he starts talking about Life, which is a coffee shop that's half a mile away, not even quarter mile, but About Life. But that's just another, like, I'm sorry, just go, basically. Kicks me out of the store. Kicks me out of the store because he thought I smelled bad or something. I don't smell bad. I think I smell good, but especially right out of the shower. Now all I can think of is that I had this stuff in my, because I'm getting ready. It's gig day, man. I got to look good. So, but I'm 3.5 feet away across a counter, and this guy does this. So long story short, I'm pissed off, left him a terrible Google review, told the story on Instagram stories, which that's what Todd is referencing, because it got like 8,000 views. But and then my Google review, I said, this is really offensive. This is the worst customer service experience I've had. I left this guy a nice review on day one, telling people about this, how much great I think his place is. His coffee's unbelievable. And then he just treats me like hell and kicks me out of his store. And I started to read other Google reviews yesterday because I was like just curious, and I hadn't really. This has happened over and over again. Where people praise the coffees, a lot of 5-star reviews, and then a series of 1-star reviews where it's about people say he thought we smelled like cigarettes and kicked us out, or we bought. Here was another one. Guy and his friend and his wife went in together. 3 people. They bought 2 coffees because the guy's wife didn't want one, and they kicked him out. You can't buy only 2 if you're 3. No, go. Just a kind of a, and then there's a series of these reviews that are really bad, and then he's like responding to them. I'm sorry, this was my mistake. I have no excuse. Like these kinds of are the translations, that Google's, from Japanese, and I just feel like going back, because I got to go back in 2 weeks. So I feel like going back and saying, like, I don't know. There's no point in doing this, but I do feel like going back and saying, maybe with the help of my friend, I feel like I want to give you a second chance, and I feel like I want to help you. You cannot. I know it's Japan, and I know there's an over tourism problem, and that people are rude sometimes. And there's nothing wrong with having rules in Japan. It's very rules based, and I've said this over and over again. And there is a real issue there right now with foreigners being disrespectful and being demanding and expecting people to speak English when they come in their stores. And it's like, we don't expect people to speak Japanese when when they're in America, right? Like, a Japanese person coming in and ordering in Japanese and then getting pissed off in a store that they don't speak if that wouldn't happen in America. Well, it's the same thing going over there, right? So I understand when people are like, I'm sorry, I don't speak English when I go in a place there, like, but I can speak well enough to order in a restaurant, and I know I didn't stink. And furthermore, you can't really kick unless somebody's like seriously, like obviously, decrepit and a problem, like whatever, and in a terrible, and offending customers and stuff. Okay, maybe then you could ask them to leave. But if somebody's just like, I don't know, man, I've never had that happen, and I've spent well over a year of my life in Japan, well over a year. A gazillion different establishments I've been in any country in the world. I've never had somebody say like, "You got to go. I don't like the way that you smell today." ah, oh God. Anyway, crazy. But yeah, I just feel like helping this guy. Like, look, you can't kick people out of your store because you don't. Even if they did just smoke a cigarette outside, lots of people still smoke in Japan. I don't smoke, but a lot of people do. I mean, what are you going to kick out a businessman that, a salary man that just had a smoke outside and then comes in and wants to order a coffee? Get out. You smell. Like, you can't do that. You just serve the guy and he's going to leave in 45 seconds. It's all going to be over in 2 minutes. Just make the coffee and be cool, So I feel like I really, there's a part of me that just feels bad for, like, he's got a social problem or something, maybe it's just straight up racism. Could be like just overt, flat out. I feel like I'm trying to rationalize it too much. Maybe it was just really weird. Really, really, really weird customer service experience. Anyways, let's talk about this. I decided not to spend $800 plus on rush tickets. I was so bummed. I just could not see spending all that. I know what you mean, Braxel. You probably got in the queue like I did, and then you get to the front of the queue and you start looking at the tickets, and you don't have a lot of time because they're going fast. So it's like you're looking around. You're like, oh my God, these are expensive, right? Well, I happened to click on an upper deck, kind of on the side. They're not going to be amazing seats. They're not going to be terrible. At the Forum in LA, third night. They were $300 each, and I was like, yeah, sold. And I got them, and it was like $650 with all the fees and everything. It's a lot of money. It looked like there was some 180 or 95 was the cheapest ticket supposedly, and then there was some 185 dollar tickets or something like that. But I sure didn't see any of those pop up right out of the gate. I heard some people that got those. Heard of some people that got those. I don't know how those pre-sales work, like how many tickets they actually have, like if it's like 20% of the tickets or 30% that they put on for fan pre-sale, and then they save the rest for the regular. I know there was a city pre-sale that went on sale 2 days or 48 hours or something before the fan pre-sale. Like if you had a Citibank credit card or something, you could get. So maybe some of them went then. I don't know how these things work. I don't buy a lot of tickets to shows. But it's Rush, and probably the last time I'm going to get to see them, I would think. And so for $300 each, I was like, okay, it's exorbitant for sure. I mean, the cost of these tickets, and that was the cheaper tickets. I mean, there was a lot of these sort of fan special VIP package things that were like $1,000 a ticket or $800 a ticket, like you're saying, and it was just so much. It was it's a lot of money for sure. I get it. It's crazy, but it's a weird world we live in now of, where the world's upside down as far as like nobody's buying music, and these are the way these bands make money, but also just Ticketmaster being like insane, and having a monopoly on the whole thing, driving the, just gone are the days when it was like I wonder, adjusted for inflation, I wonder what tickets would be now. That's interesting. I wonder if we could ask AI that. Like, I remember tickets were around $15 when I used to go. They started, I think it was like $12 for the Rod Stewart ticket that I got in 1982, something like that. And tickets were routinely like, I think between that and $20, like $18.50 or something. So let's see, like, what would $18 in 1984 be worth now? Let's use ChatGPT. $56. Yeah. So yeah, that sounds about right to me. Like, right? Like tickets should be like $60, $75. How about $99? But instead it's exponentially more than that. It's crazy. So yeah, it's a drag, but you know, I don't know. Okay, volume pot. 1 volume pot on t-shirt, 2 on the green meanie. Oh, I didn't even notice that. I think you're right about it. Or was there volume and tone? Like this? I don't know. Okay, I'm going to tell you what it is. It's this. The truss rod adjustment. The green meanie, of course, didn't have one of those end of the neck truss rod adjustments like guitars do now. It had a typical Charbel style for the time truss rod adjustment. So I noticed that right away. But anyways, okay, what else? Truss rod reel. Steven got it. I wish I had a prize like the shirt. White pickguard. I think it did have a black pickguard though for a while. I think the pickguard got switched on the guitar, didn't it? Now you're making me think maybe there's other things I missed. The truss rod wheel was the main one that I saw. Steve Vai, let's take a look. Green. I loved the green meanie guitar. Yeah, so yeah, it did have a black and a white. I'm looking at 2 pictures right now. Originally it was a white guard. And it did have a tone. No, the tone knob is right. Pretty much in the right place. Yeah. I'm looking at a picture of the guitar that has... Ooh. No. That would be one version of this guitar for sure. Yeah, they got most of it correct, I think. But just that one, the truss rod wheel. I don't know why they put that on there. That's weird. I'm just looking at a bunch of pictures of it now. Ooh, there's like a late stage version of it where it's really beat up. Oh, that's a replica. Never mind. It's a Jackson replica of it. Seen a whole bunch of images of it. If you just search Steve Vai Green Meanie, you can see it in all kinds of different iterations and incarnations. I just love that guitar. I mean, it was like, that album was a landmark album for me, for sure. Eat 'em and Smile. And was just, it had a big influence on me. And it was that era of it. We were all having so much fun then, man, making guitars and, painting them, putting stickers on them and stuff, and just stuff like that. Sure, it's been modified a million times over. Yeah, if you look at, just search it yourself on Google right now, if you're on a computer or whatever, and you can see all the different, stickers, some more stickers, some less stickers, with the white guard, with the black guard, all different. There's the Carvin ad where Steve was holding it, where he's got the striped pants, and in that picture, it's got a white guard. And then later on with Dave, black guard. Yeah. Okay. Hi, Pete. Hi, chat. Didn't get notified, says Trolls. Yeah, I never understand the notification thing on YouTube. Okay. Just watch the video you did at Sunset Sound to record with 2 notes. Oh, I couldn't remember if it had been there or Sound City to record a couple tracks, but that reverb chamber room remained. Yeah, the reverb chamber is epic at Sunset. It sounds amazing. If you're ever wanting to have fun and you got a little bit of money and you're in LA, just book the room out for a day and go down there and crank up a guitar, mic up an amp in that live room, or in the ISO booth, and ask them to turn up the send on the console for the reverb chamber, and you'll hear the Van Halen 1 reverb. Might cost you a couple grand to rent the studio but maybe it's worth it. I mean, hell, tickets are $800 each. You could go to Sunset Sound for a couple grand. You could play through the reverb chamber that Eddie Van Halen did. Good times. I remember Brian Kehoe telling me that he's a guy that tours with the Who and is a friend of mine and stuff. He's kind of he sort of is like Pete Townshend's right-hand guy. He's not his tech, but he does a lot for the Who and different things. And he actually played keyboards with him a little bit way back years ago. But anyway, he's a big Beatles nut. He wrote that book, co-wrote, I believe, Recording the Beatles, which is an incredible resource. But one thing that he said was, you can go to Abbey Road, and the day rate is like $2,500, and he liked to go like string players that weren't like first call string players, but like good string players, and go in there and record like string quartets and things like that, playing Beatles arrangements. And this is how he has a good time. And he just mentioned, you can get some great string players that aren't like the first call guys, but like for pretty reasonable price. And then the studio's $2,500 for a day. He's like, what if you went in there with your friends, like 4-piece band, and everybody kicked in, what is it, $650 or whatever, and you could go in there and with a staff engineer and just like record tunes for like a few hours, like play some Beatles songs where the Beatles recorded. Not very much, right? $650. You could go in and that sounds like fun if you happen to be in London with some friends. I was like, that's a great idea. What a fun idea. Go book Abbey Road and go in there and just have a little trip down memory lane, do some recording. But anyway, I digress. No reason why you couldn't do that at Sunset. That's why when we were doing the 2-notes thing, I was like, we could do it at my studio. We could do it here. This is to create Dying IRs. But I was like, let's go to a legendary room and make this super sexy. Let's go to a place where, and what room is that? Like, go to a place where amazing guitar was recorded, and we'll do my signature cabinets in that room, signature Dying IR package in that room, using the desk. It's not the same desk that was in there, but it is the desk that's been there since 1981 or 82 or something like that. It was a different desk, but similar, I think, back when Van Halen did Van Halen 1 in there and some of Van Halen 2. Yeah. Super chat there. I might have missed another one. Gonna light that up here in just a second. Shoot down to the bottom of the chat. I'm way behind. I missed another super chat, didn't I? So let's grab a couple of these. Starting a Synergy rig with $1,500. Do I get a Syn 20 IR and 1 module, or a Syn 1 and 2 modules? Home use only. I think if it's home use only, that you get the amp because it's got IRs built in. If you're home use, you're only going to do one at a time anyway. And it's got the built-in clean channel, so you can use the amp with pedals and get like a decent clean sound. And then you've got I mean, it's a great basis for a home studio to kind of have. Yeah, and you've got a real tube amp. I mean, I would go that way, because then you can actually take the thing out and jam with friends if you want, or play. It's an amplifier. If you just get the module or 2 modules and a rack thing, then no question that I would go for the head as being the superior option to just the single rack chassis. Start there, and then later on you can get other modules. That's my recommendation. Go for the head. Coffee is big in Japan. Oh yeah, they run on coffee in Japan. And tea. Tea's big too, but coffee's a huge deal in Japan for sure. Typically, in true Japanese fashion, with whatever you're into, they take it very seriously. I mean, you can get average coffee too, but like you can get stellar killer coffee in Japan, where they take it so seriously. There's a lot of the places roast their own beans, just like this Bizarre Cat that I was mentioning earlier. There's a place called the Roastery that is one of my favorites. That's not racist and bizarre, and you can go there and it's on Cat Street, get a great cup of coffee, and you can go in there and see all the roasting machines and stuff, everything they got in the back. It's a great big place. The Roastery, and upstairs there's great barbecue, and I always go there and get a burger, actually, generally, when I'm I've had enough with sushi and stuff for a while, or ramen or whatever you're into, you're like, man, I could just go for a burger right now, or maybe some barbecue chicken or something like that. You go to, it's called the Smokehouse, and it's upstairs from the roastery. Same company owns both. And yeah, really great. One of my favorite things to do in Shibuya, kind of on the Cat Street, which is a shopping street that, walking shopping street, there's no traffic on it. You can walk it all the way from Shibuya all the way up to Harajuku and Omotesando, which is kind of the Beverly Hills or one of them anyway, there's multiple different fancy shopping areas, but of Tokyo. Yeah. Right before the tapping on Turn Up the Radio was, for me, the hardest part. The fingering and timing was a pain. The part right before the tapping on Turn Up the Radio. That's the Autograph, right? I don't remember that part of the song that you're talking about, but he was a great guitar player, that fella. Steve Lynch, right? I don't know what he's doing. I haven't heard about him for a long time. I have no idea. There's something gray above the bridge pickup on the green Meanie, says Milt. That's like a hand rest that he put on there, I think, to kind of so that the position of his hand was sitting a little higher in relation to the bridge off the body. And I understand that. Later on you'd see bridges countersunk and routed out, but like on the green Meanie, I'm sure the way that the bridge was mounted is probably like my original Jackson over there, where it's a little bit off the body, and you know what I mean, the height of the bridge off the body. And maybe Steve found that uncomfortable. Later on, sink the bridge down into the body with the route so that it's almost more like a Strat height, I think, the saddles, or like the height of the strings off the body on a Strat original bridge or a Telly. So he's a little different than, the Floyd is just a bigger hunk of metal and all that. The saddles and the strings always seem a little higher. And maybe I think he didn't like that, is why he put that gray thing there to change where the angle of his pick hand sort of, broke over the strings or whatever. It was like this hand rest thing that he put on. Yeah. And the only way around that to get the bridge down into the guitar further is you almost need to take wood off the neck, like which I actually did on my Jackson. I've always regretted it. But on my because I had a hard time with that too, like high bridges. I had this Hamer once, a Chaparral, that had the bridge like real high off the body, like Tune-O-Matic height, the Floyd, and it was just like there was this much gap under the bridge and the body. And anybody remember Hamers like that? And they had this bridge, it'd sit real high, and then I'd be like, man, I can't get control, especially if the bridge is floating. Like, you'd lean on the bridge at all and the guitar goes sharp. It's like it was just difficult with the bridge that high off the body. I found I've always liked the bridge to be lower to the body and a little closer. That said, I wish I hadn't done it to my Jackson. I actually, had my Jackson shaved some of the bottom of the neck, like where the bolts go in the neck, that part of the wood in the neck, had some of that wood taken off so that the neck would sit a little lower in the body so I could lower the bridge a bit. Well, I just wish I hadn't done that. I didn't have a problem with the Jackson as much as I did the Hamer that I had. And I back routed my Jackson too, which I'd never done any of that shit to it. It was all original. But this is, by the way, of course, the way that the neck looked on the green Meanie. Exactly, it had a fingerboard like this, with no truss rod adjustment down there. But so you know what I mean. That bridge sits a little lower on this guitar because I had a guy back route it way back in the day and drop the bridge lower. So that's why the bass plate is almost underneath the body of the guitar. So yeah, I had the neck. You can almost see the dots on the side of the neck disappearing into the body because I had some wood taken off this part of the neck. Good tech did it and everything. There's nothing wrong with it. He shaved the neck here so that it would then sit a little bit lower into the guitar. It's fine. It's probably even more playable this way, but I just wish I hadn't done this back routing stuff to it. And I wish the guitar was exactly the way it was when I got it. So it's still a great guitar. Really good guitar. One thing is I don't have a bar for it, like an original. I don't know what happened to the bar. And I wish I could get a bar for it. I wonder if maybe you guys know, like it's got an original Floyd on it with the original style. It's like a screw-in bar. I don't know where to get one anymore like that. Maybe I have to find an old one or something. Okay, what else are we talking about here? There's another super chat I gotta grab. I'm gonna go down and get that in just a sec. Joe says, I'm loving hearing my vocals and doubles and good harmonies and discovered the whisper tracks thing. It's been difficult at first, but very recording the Howard Benson vocal plugin next. What's whisper tracks? I have no idea what that is. Whisper tracks. Whisper tracks. What is it? Try recording some whisper tracks. Oh, are you saying like you're actually whispering? Like hearing my vocals and doubles and good harmonies, whisper tracks. Been very difficult at first, but very rewarding. The Howard Benson, but I don't know what you mean. Maybe you can tell me more. Is this like I'm just searching it and people are actually talking about recording whisper, how to mix whisper vocal doubles. It's actually like where you do this and blend it in. Is that a thing? Tell us, teach us. Joe says he got kicked out of a Japanese restaurant for having too hairy arms. Wow. Really? That's wild, man. I'm sorry. Between me and you, man, we should go to the restaurant together and see if we can get in places. And they kick us both out. Just offended by our mere presence. What else we got? What else? Ian says he may go by smell for his roast. Yeah, I had thought that he was implying that, that I was fucking up his nose, which was his moneymaker. I mean, dude, I was like, the next day, I was like, I put some of the same stuff in my head, and then inside, I made my friend Dennis stand across. I go, I was this far away. Smell me. Can you smell anything? And he's like, no, not really. Like, come on, man. It was like so crazy. I think that is what he was implying, that it was like, because he did say, I'm roasting beans right now, and your perfume is too strong. I'm like, I'm not wearing perfume, bro. I don't know. So weird. This is the life I've chosen. Pete went Canadian nuclear. Could have been better. Did you puff on some skunk weed? Certainly not in Japan. Would never. Ben Eller has a great video on how to play the solo and turn up the radio. Really, Ben's got so many good teaching videos. He's terrific. Do people with BO get to stay? I doubt it. I think that would be a non-starter. He'd just kick you right out. Okay, moving down to the chat. What else we got here? Andy Raxcan says, good evening. Hope you're good. I'm well, man. I'm good. I'm definitely like jet lagged. I'm going to try and figure out how to get through this next couple of weeks and then turn around, go back and not be completely screwed for the first gig back. But I'm really lightheaded at the moment. Just kind of get to sleep when I need to and stuff. Yeah, because I don't want to turn around. I don't want to get back on LA time. I really don't. Braxall talking about tickets. I spent $300 on Dream Theater back in February 2025 for two of us. Could not justify $800. Yeah, we've all got our limit for sure. Didn't the green meanie fall apart in his hands? I did. I talked to him about that. Yeah, I think he was kind of exercising the trem, and he pulled, back on it, and it like actually pulled the posts out of the body. It is soft. It was basswood, so that can happen on basswood guitars if you're, so the wood is quite soft. That wood, so yeah. Ripped out the Floyd at Madison Square Garden. That's right. Yeah. Borrowed from Grover. Yep, that's what happened. Okay. Did you buy any gear on the trip? How's the exchange rate? The exchange rate right now going to Japan is very favorable. Everything's cheap, food and everything, but gear's not really cheap. That's what I found. But guitars are expensive right now. vintage guitars, and maybe not Japanese guitars. You get some deals for sure on like a Bernie or something like that. Pretty good prices. But for, whereas I used to feel like the American guitars were pretty good price over there, like pretty good deal vintage stuff for a little while. Now I feel like it's really expensive. It must be really hard on Japanese folks trying to buy guitars. Like, they want to buy a vintage guitar, forget about it, because the yen is, it's like, I don't know what it is, but it's maybe 145 or 150 or something like that. I'm not even sure at the moment. Let's see. What's the Japanese yen to US dollar exchange rate right now? Let's see. That's not right. What's the US dollar to Japanese yen exchange rate today? 150. I'll ask the same question sometimes to ChatGPT or AI or whatever to my phone, and then I think I phrased that the same way, and it'll come back different. But anyway, 150 right now. So that means that I always thought of the yen as like a penny, because for the longest time it was 100 yen to the dollar, or close, 90 or 105, or it was like right in there all the time. 95, 99, 97, 105, 108. Now it's 150. So your dollar goes a long way once you get over there. A coffee is generally like 600 yen or 700 yen, so that's costing you $4 or $4.50 or something like that. Whereas like a really good coffee, and over here they're like $8 now in LA. Yeah, stuff's like double. A good sushi, man. I mean, you can eat for 2,500 yen, 3,000 yen. You can get like an amazing sushi dinner, and that's only like $22 or whatever. It's really cheap right now. But yeah, guitars are like 1,400,000 yen or something for like it's like, oh, that's a lot of money. That's 10K or whatever, or is that right? Something like that. So I'm throwing a number out there for vintage guitars that you would see routinely. Get yourself an American coffee there, says Mike. It has got to be better than the no coffee in Japan. Well, I've got a number of other coffee places in Japan that I love to go. One of them, yeah, Roastery, Roasted in Shibuya, also good. There's a couple Blue Bottles in Shibuya. That's not a Japanese place, but it's always great. Yeah. Number of good spots over there. Did you ever seriously hurt your hand, says Amar? I hurt my index finger, almost a 20 Iommi Django Reinhardt bad. Wow, I'm sorry. Advice for healing nerves, muscle stiffness. I mean, I think a good sports medicine doc is the best thing to consider. I'm actually going to go see somebody. I think I'm having a little issue with my right arm. It's nothing to do with my hand. My playing's fine, but I've pulled a muscle or something in here, and it's not getting better. Certain things I do, it flares up and just hurts like really bad all of a sudden. Certain angles that I put, like if I do this, that really hurts through here. Trying to move my arm back. This one, nothing. I can move it around. It's all good. This, yeah, like it's hurting right now that I did that. So for instance, when you're on stage and you do the bow at the end of the night, right? And everybody's got their arms around one another. Just the act of putting my arm back, and especially if it gets stretched at all, it's like very painful. So anyway, I'm going to go see a sports medicine person, and I'm sure I'll get some exercises, and they'll tell me it's going to take 6 months. As you get older, sometimes these things, that's the one thing I'll say, the older you get, they seem to take longer to resolve. Can be, 6 months or a year or whatever. But generally speaking, I'm a fan of the sports medicine people going and getting some exercises, some stretches. That's always helped me resolve issues, any kind of issues I've had. Going to a good sports medicine therapist and getting a diagnosis and so what to do to fix it, Considering getting a 2-notes Captor X for a live amp solution for not using another mic or go full silent stage, what tips do you have on it for this purpose? I prefer the the reload 2. So that'd be the first thing. I know it's probably maybe it's more than you want to spend, but the load is I think superior in it. I think they would tell you that too. Capturac's pretty good box. I've got a number of friends that use it. Brian Ray tried it for a while. My friend Jason Orm that plays with Alanis uses a couple of them. One on a divided by 13, one on a Marshall, and he's very happy with them. But yeah, I just prefer the reload and the Celestion approved load that's in it, as well as the reamp that's in it, because then you can use it to plug into cabinets and stuff. It'll do stuff that the captor just won't do. So that's the first thing. Tips and thoughts. You know, well, now there's the one thing about it is that with the captor, of course, it'll host some IRs, so that is an advantage, and that sounds like something maybe you want to do. Full silent stage, so that'd be an advantage for it. So one thing I wish was in the reload. I think everybody that gets it probably wishes that it had that. I'm not sure why they didn't just, basically put an Opus in it or whatever, or IR loader of some sort, but they didn't. So tips and thoughts. I don't know, nothing really. I mean, other than I just like that unit. I like the load in the reload. The Survey Active Load is another one that you can look at. It's a terrific product and has IRs built in as well. So nothing to add really, other than that. Just get it and try it, and it's down to trying the IRs that seeing what you like and dialing them in, experimenting with those, seeing what sound people like and stuff that you work with, and that's it. Do you ever record the Synergy direct with no power amp? I never have. You can do that, but I've never done it. Some of those new modules probably work pretty well with that built-in kind of power amp sort of simulating circuit, like that's on, for example, the new Marshall JMP module. Sorry, that was a combination yawn and sneeze. Jet lag. But yeah, the ones like, I think that the Dr. Z one has the power amp simulation thing built in. Some of the lower gain modules have it. Those, I would think, probably in theory, probably sound pretty good plugged in direct and just adding an IR. But I've never really done it. No, I kind of have, like I have a lot of stuff here, like Power Station, Reload 2, and ways that I can Survey Active Load. I've got ways I can record all these amps direct. So the idea of taking having an issue. Kids, when you get older, sometimes things happen. I felt like when I was in Japan, I was right on the edge of getting sick. A little like post-nasal, whatever. And now something just flared. And I'm having an issue. Sorry. All right. So anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah, basically, yeah, the amps. I've got enough amps here and stuff like that I feel like I'm not going to get like out of a Synergy module running it direct or whatever. Like, why would I do that when I got all these other options? Or can I have full power amp working and all that going into a load box? Sorry. I should have water here instead of coffee. Okay. What else? Oh, Ryan says he recorded where Skinner and the Stones at Muscle Shoals. Seeger, Bob Dylan, many more. Loved it. Dream come true. That's cool. You did the thing where you went to the studio. Sorry. I think I'm going to explode. Jesus. All right. I'll be better in a minute. Lauren says he loves a Sin 30 combo. Would support getting a Sin 20 IR so long as you have a cab. Ugh. Jules from Holland. Not Jules Holland, though, I assume. I know you get that all the time. Sorry. Nice to have you here, Jules. Okay, what else we got? What else we got? Let's see. Have you ever been to the Ibanez factory? I haven't. I don't know what Ibanez does as far as production anymore. I think they have maybe a Japan custom shop, but they have the U.S. custom shop. But I think they're building a lot of stuff like most other guitars in Indonesia these days. Am I wrong? Somebody out there probably knows better than me, but I think that that's the truth. I know they have the Prestige stuff. I think that's built in Japan. Anyway, never been there. I don't know a lot about Ibanez guitars. I've never had a lot of experience with them. Never owned one other than my Destroyer. I'm gonna go get some water in a minute if this doesn't resolve. I feel like I'm exploding. Okay, moving down through the chat. Let's see. Recently picked up a Rev D20 Mark II. Explore the two notes software and purchase your Brit G12M Blackback and Port City cab. Man, they're awesome. So that's for the two notes. Thanks, man. Those are the ones we did at Sunset Sound. Yeah, thank you. I know, I like them too. I use them all the time. If I'm going direct, like say I'll come out of the Sur reactive load and I'll go into my interface and I'll pull up a Genome software on the channel and use them a lot. My own IRs. The blue cabinet's great too. The 412 open back with the blues. It's nice for cleaner stuff. If you're doing anything AC30. Floyd plate equal to the body. Wouldn't that routing make it feel smaller in the hands up there? What does that mean? I'm not sure, Amar. What I'm saying is, like, if you've got a Strat style bridge like this, right? There's a certain height of the bridge off the body, and because the bridge is just lower profile and everything like that, it always feels like, and I'm sure is, lower to the body than if you've got a Floyd guitar that doesn't have a back route, right? It's just a bigger hunk of metal. See how high the saddles are on a Floyd? This is back routed, of course, so it's sitting countersunk into the body a little bit more. But even on this guitar, I bet if we measured the height of the strings off the body, the height of the low E saddle where the string actually breaks across the saddle, it's going to be a little higher than maybe similar to this guitar. But this guitar is not back routed, obviously, but maybe it's about the same. But that's why they put the back route generally, so the bridge can sit a little deeper into the body. And you don't have the string so high. Now, I had this Hamer that was it was a Chaparral glue-in neck. Might have been more like a Les Paul neck pitch. The angle of the neck into the body is was it 5% or something? Or I don't know what the pitch is, but that bridge, man. I mean, there was this much space underneath the Floyd. So imagine how high the bridge was. This high off the body. It was more like a Tune-O-Matic, more like a Les Paul height, bridge height off the body. It was a very difficult thing for me to get used to when I started getting Gibsons. I don't know if you guys had that at all, but if you're coming from a Fender style guitar, with an arm contour and everything, and then you get a Les Paul for the first time, and you're like, the height of the strings off the body for me was a very tough thing. I felt like I couldn't mute accurately and stuff. I just wasn't as good on it as it just took me a long time, and I literally used to cut my arm. Do you ever have that? It was a weird problem. I never saw anybody else have that problem. I get really bruised, sometimes even bleeding on my left arm on the first Les Paul that I really got, because I'd jam my arm into the guitar if I was playing hard, and it would hit that binding, the edge, and it was just, I wasn't used to that. I was used to a Strat, All right. Give me 2 seconds with this respiratory issue I'm having. I'll be right back. Oh, man. We like to call that an episode. That's what I had. An episode. Okay. I wish Hamer would come back. I had USA California Elite. I remember those. That was more like the bolt-on version of the guitar that I had. Yeah. I had the Chaparral, which it was a cool guitar. It was really cool looking. Hamer Chaparral. I don't know how to spell that, but Hamer Chaparral. Weird name, but here's one sort of like, yeah, that was basically my guitar right there. It's different color, cool color. It's green. I'm gonna pull one up here. Mine didn't have a Bill Lawrence in the bridge. I'll take a picture of it. 1986 to 1988. Is that the only time they made them? How interesting. Know that. All right, I'm just taking a picture of it here, and I'm going to show you what it looks like. This was like my guitar. Now mine was pink, like fuchsia, but it looked like that. Well, that's got a Kaler on it, doesn't it? Mine didn't have a Kaler. That was it with the boomerang inlays, and it was like pink, full on pink. There's a Floyd one. Another picture of a Floyd one. Pretty damn cool guitar, really. Was it? Oh, there's a pink one. There's a picture of a pink one. That one there. Let's see. That's kind of that's not the right color. I just got Google Images open here, and there's a whole bunch of them. Maybe that looks red. Maybe mine was kind of a unique color, as pink as it was. I had a couple pink guitars back in the day. I had a pink BC Rich bitch too. That was a stunner, I tell you. And then the Californian was more of a. That was the one that had like 27 frets, right? Or did it 27? And kind of a bolt-on neck affair. Not seeing any here of the color, any photographs pop up that was the crazy color that mine was. Maybe I got the only one. Yeah. All right. The necks on those old Charbel Jacksons, like mine back there, were awesome. Yeah, they sure were. They were the main selling point to me was the neck, actually. Loved it. So comfortable. Scott says I have, oh man, original Floyd Rose Black Bar. I'll give it to you for free. You know, I'll buy it from you for market price, dude, if you want. Send me an email, Pete Thorn at Ymail. I'd love to get it for you. Or for me, from you. But I'd be happy to pay for it. For extra original Floyd Rose Black Bar. I'd really appreciate it, actually. Pete Thorn at Ymail, YMAIL.com. Thanks, Scott. I appreciate that. You're too kind. Yeah. Okay, I'm reading through the comments here. Whispering the song and tucking the track out of the main vocal track. Warren Hewitt has a lesson on it. Is that right? Is that kind of like what Def Leppard used to do? The Mutt Lange thing. How did they get those airy background vocals? You know, that sounded so cool. I'm not sure. Vocal production is something that I'm not that hip on because, of course, I'm a guitar player, and it's like I got 2 records that I've done myself and mixed and engineered and stuff, but I don't do a hell of a lot of vocals in here. So yeah, it's a bit of things that people do. I don't know that much about when it comes to vocals and recording. Really, I don't claim to be any kind of expert. Yeah. Okay, who else we got here? I took a grinder to the heel of my 91 RG Ibanez to round it off like later guitars. Interesting. The mods we used to do. Welcome back, says Glenn Bone. Thanks. Yeah, it's good to be back in LA for a second. This is a crazy fall, man. I'm going to be back and forth. Like, I feel like the gig's over, but it's not. I'm going back again soon. I'll be back before I know it. I think it's going to be a bit of a shocker. turning around, going right back in. I actually thought this morning, I woke up at about 5 because I'm so jet lagged, and I listened through to our second set in Osaka. I've only done a few gigs. We got a lot of downtime in Japan. We did all a series of rehearsals over there with Tyoshi, the artist I play with. And then we did 2 shows in Osaka, and then I had a bunch of downtime, and then just did a fan club show in Tokyo the other night, and then came back here the next day. So we go back into the proper tour in a couple weeks and do a couple shows in Nagoya and a couple shows in Kagoshima. So I'll fly back in, head into basically straight into a rehearsal day in Kagoshima, and then 2 show days. So wish me luck. Yeah. Anyway. Did you do any guitar shopping? I did look at a bunch of guitars. Everything's expensive, so it's like I kind of, it's a little rich for my blood, to be honest. But I did see a bunch of cool stuff. I can show you some guitars if you want. Where the heck was this even? Man, some beautiful guitars there. This is Ochanomizu, that's right, the other day. Was in Ochanomizu. A bunch of guitars there on the wall in the store. What else we got? Let's see if... oh! You ever play on Nacho? What do you guys know about Nacho guitars? Pretty cool. Oh, here was... Remember this? The Nigel Tufnell from the early 90s, Ernie Ball. I've never seen one of those before, but there's one on the wall in Japan. Crazy. This was in Ochanomizu, a nice selection of Gibson custom shop stuff. Here's some Nachos. These guitars are, he makes the guitars out of some sort of parts, but then does some really nice finishing on them. I mean, that looks like a pretty legit 60s Strat, right? That's a Nacho. And that guitar was, I mean, I think it's tagged at, 1,990,000. Can it really be that much? 1,995,000 yen. That'd be about 15 grand. Like, really? It's I can't believe they're that much money, but I guess they are. I think that's how much it is. 1,900,000. They're about 1,900,000. So what's 1,900,000 yen in US dollars? 12 grand. 12 grand. So they're, I mean, they're kind of Gil Yaron prices, I guess. Or a little more than Fender Masterbuilt. Like some of those Fender Masterbuilts, you see like $9,000. It's a lot of money. It's just a lot of money. But anyway, I'm playing on the gig. The drum tech actually is lending me a Nacho Telecaster that's like, and it really does feel like and sound great. I mean, like a 50s Tele. It's pretty cool. So it looks like a 52 Tele that's really beat and worn in. And I could only fly over with so much gear, so I ended up needing some other guitars, a couple other guitars for, I guess the Nacho's the only one I'm really using, as well as some Takamine acoustics that I end up with. But I needed a guitar tuned down a whole step for some stuff, just because of vocal keys and things like that. So this guitar is tuned all the way down to D, and D to D. Basically, it's like a whole step down, a whole guitar, and it's a Nacho Tele. Cool guitar. Here's another Nacho. I mean, this is pretty great. They do look like pretty stellar. They remind me of those Greenwich Village custom guitar, like the quality of the relicing. That's pretty great, right? It looks like a real 57 Strat, or maybe 54 because of the truly an ash body. Really, really good looking. But yeah, they ain't cheap. I mean, you could fool me, I think, with that. Anyway, these are some guitars I saw in Ochanomizu. There's a 50s Tele that looks similar to the one that I'm playing, 50s style, Nacho. Sorry, it's really blowing out. The picture's even blowing out the way that I took it, so you can't really see. But here's another one on the wall that I guess is Sonic Blue. You can kind of see. Interesting. Does anybody know anything about those guitars? Like where they're built? I don't know. I just have heard of them. Nacho. And where they're built and the parts that are used and pickups and things. Just not sure. Todd says, remember a Canadian band we may have not mentioned before. Remember Chilliwack? Yeah, of course. I mean, Brian McLeod played in Chilliwack, right? Who ended up doing Headpins and Gong 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 Should Be Gone So Long. Great stuff. Great stuff. Yeah. Love it. Braxall says, you're a trooper with being with us. Hey, I didn't make it last week, and I'm sorry about that. So I do my best. But I love doing this show. I would never, it's selfish, really. I just enjoy talking about guitars with you guys. So, yeah. What's said here? Whispers. I heard Def Leppard would whisper close to the mic, and each take they moved back and sang louder and louder for huge. Oh, that's interesting. So that's how they did it. Further from the mic and sing a little bit louder and a little bit louder. Interesting. I'll have to try that someday. Guitar prices are way down in the US. Are they? Like vintage and stuff? Is that what's happening? I haven't been looking that much in like over the last year or so I don't know. Did you see any 90s HRR Strats for sale? Maybe. There's some 90s. Is that like a made in Japan? I don't think I saw some over there. This is interesting. A flash flood of gear. They go to Japan, buy crates of vintage and special guitars, and bring them back to the US. Is that right? That's what Japan did in the 80s. They brought crates of vintage guitars and brought them over to Japan. That's what drove the original, crazy price spike. Is just supply and demand. A lot of guitars were disappearing over there. Yeah. Do you ever buy pedals and take them over there to sell? No, not so much. I mean, I'm there working, so I'm making money while I'm there. Although the last couple of years I went just on vacation because I missed it and I hadn't been working there for a few years, and I was definitely spending money on those trips. But this time I'm making money, so I got myself a Japanese work permit that is multiple entry. Don't know why I'm speaking in that accent, but I am. Okay. What's this? Okay, so yeah, man, recording a vocal track on verses, whisper for cool air effect, and the Howard Benson plugin on vocals looks really cool. I'll have to check that out. I haven't seen that plugin. What are my thoughts on low wattage amps? SL15 would seem to be cool, but there are a few videos of it since launch. Well, I made one. I've made multiple. The PT15 is an amazing amp, man. And if you want to see and hear it used live, for instance, in a pretty big place, like for instance, pull up the video of Classic Rock Show playing Thunderstruck. That's the PT15. You can hear me using it on that. That's the direct output IRs being used. And I think it sounds great. And I mean, I used to use it on stage. I'd have a little bit of it pumped into my monitor. And it was just the matching 212 cabinet for that tour. So we were using smaller amps back then. I play a bigger rig now. But do I really need to? Not really. I mean, it sounded great on that tour. And the thing about it is that wattage and volume. I mean, sound guys hate loud guitars now. It's like as loud as I can get the PT15 is about as loud as I can get my PT100 without pissing off sound guys. The PT15 on 4 or 4.5 is basically making full power, and starting to probably clip the power section for sure. But it's a healthy volume, and like for an onstage volume, it sounds great at that level. And if it was any louder, sound guys wouldn't let me. And that's it. I'm talking in like a 2,000 seat theater. They wouldn't want it any louder. And certainly you don't have to be that loud. It's like, if anything, it's like they like it quieter. It's like, so because the amp is kind of engineered for some headroom, and the way it's EQ'd and stuff like that, the way that the preamp is, John's kind of got it so that it's cooled out enough that it sounds headroomy. And it is headroomy, but it's still 15 watts. There's only so much headroom you can get out of 15 watts. But what am I trying to say? It's basically, it sounds like a big amp. It's not super loud, but it's about as loud as I found I can get anyway on stage, out of any amp. PT100, I don't run that loud these days. It's like, I've got the master dialed back for sure. Like the way that I run the PT100 using the return master volume that's on the back, I've got the effect loop switch in. Even if I wasn't using the loop, I use it to be an overall master volume, the effect return for the whole amp. And it's definitely dialed back from, if I've got the effect loop switch out, the volume of the amp goes way up. If I switch it in, it's like down 20% or something like that. I mean, it's not, I don't have it at like unity or anything like that, because I like to drive the volumes on the front a little bit higher. It loads the EQ differently or something, John says, and it just sounds like a certain way when I run the masters up a bit higher on the channels. And then the return volume I run down a bit so that the amp's just not so damn loud. So anyway, my feel is that, the way that modern 20-watt amps respond, and, they're like, not all 15-watt amps are created the same, whatever they call 15 watts, or, when we think about the volume of a Princeton reverb or something versus a modern sort of 3-channel head that's 15 watts, it can be a different thing. The perception of the bigness of it and the collapse and stuff like that, can be different. So, okay. Steven says that's a rotator cuff problem. Is that what's going on with my arm? Rotator cuff? I'll look that up. Thank you. I'll check it out. MRI for the same thing, says Scott. I'll check it out. Interesting. Yeah, I'd like to know what's going on to see what maybe I can just look for some exercises or something. Frozen shoulder, I've had it in both over the years. Interesting. Must feel great to be home. It does feel good to be home. I'm a little out of sorts. I'm like, where am I? A little bit. Even being in this room, everything feels like a dream. Even Tokyo sort of felt like, when I was there and I'd been there weeks, it sort of still felt like, where am I? Am I here? What's happening? But it's been one of those years. I mean, I haven't been home. So it's like, I've been away all the time. And it's crazy. But fun. What else? Frozen shoulder sucks, says Telly Man. That's a shoulder problem, which can go away with therapy in a few months. I had on both shoulders. They're okay now. Good to know. Yeah, I might go to the doc about it, I think, eventually, here pretty soon. See what's going on. Yeah. All right. Sports medicine docs and physio saved my playing twice already, from destroyed to basically normal with a few months of consistent. That's what I find. The sports medicine, they know, they're like, oh yeah, you got this going on. Let's get you some, exercises, and they sort of show you some things to do, and then you do it and it gets better. Generally. Yeah. Mackenzie MD2, some good advice here. Physical therapist, worked with one for years and saw quickly help patients. Interesting. Avoid fist fights and wrestling. Yeah, you don't heal up as fast. That's true. So the older you get, you don't heal up as fast. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Have you started taking a statin for cholesterol? No, I've got low cholesterol. I'm lucky. It's just genetic. Like, every time I go get my cholesterol tested, they're like, well, you lucked out. Whatever's going on, cholesterol's like super low, just genetically. So, yeah. Okay. Suggestions for replacement speakers for the PV5150 cab. Jeff Sheffield's never did it for me. Just depends what you want. If the 5150, the Sheffields, they're probably supposed to be sort of greenbacky. So you could always try, just a good greenback. But I would probably look at, if you want something that's a little more clear, a little higher power handling or something, I really like the G12H75 creamback or the G12M creamback. It's a higher power speaker, but something about the G12H75 is really cool. But either that or just a set of 4 greenbacks, or if you want to go with what Eddie ended up with, you could get some of the sorry, what a mess I am today. The G12M20, the EVH speakers, the Heritage ones. Do they still make those? I think they do, right? They sound good. Heritage. I'm not sure if Celestion still makes the. Maybe they do. Celestion Heritage. They make the 55. G12M. Let's see. What's that? Maybe just regular G12Ms. I don't know if they make the. It's a little more money now. $134.99. These used to be $99. I don't know if they make the EVH speaker anymore. G12M EVH. Can you get that? Yeah, you can still get that. $155. A little more dough. Inflation, folks. But yeah, if you want a warm, kind of lower efficiency, to tame your loud ass amp, try that. The EVH G12M. If you want just a good middle of the road greenback, basic greenback sound, get the regular one. If you want a little bit bigger bass and bigger top end, more efficient, G12H creamback 75. Or if you want that 2K spike, V30. Or if you want that sound but with a little bit more relaxed thing, Veteran 30 from Warehouse. Ian says, "You okay?" I wasn't for a minute. I had an episode. Don't die in here. Don't explode. It would make YouTube history. That would be amazing if I was to just, well, that's a terrible thought, but what if I was to just expire right here on camera? Celebrity blow up. Way to go. It'd be legendary. It would be, for sure. That'd be my biggest video, probably. Morbid. How morbid can you get? Super chat there I got to grab. Thank you for that. Whoever sent that big one. Appreciate that. Okay. Fujigen does all the Ibanez Prestige, but they make the Genesis series now, which is basically just 90s style made in Japan guitars. Decent amount coming from Japan still. Genesis. Turn it on, turn it on, turn it on again. I want to see Ibanez Genesis. So is that like the RGs? Yeah, they're doing that. RGs. So those are made by Fujigen in Japan, you're saying. Interesting. Looks like you can get them for around they're calling them Genesis. You can get them for around, was it $1,200 or something? Is that right? No, I don't know. Let's see here. Ibanez Genesis collection consists of high-performance electric guitars, reissues of the classic 1987 RG 550 model, and they're made in Japan. Fast-playing Super Wizard necks, HSH pickups, etc., etc. Pretty good price, $11.49 for a Japanese-made guitar. Yeah, they were basically like a bare bones gem. That's what they were. Super Strat HSH. Let's look on Sweetwater. There's a yellow one. There you go. Fujigen, huh? Okay. Interesting. Oh, where's that? I got another super chat there. Sorry, guys. I'm gonna move down in the chat and grab those. So I'm missing a bunch of other comments here. That always happens, though. No question. Just buying you a coffee. Thanks, man. Thanks, Campus Red House. Appreciate you. Too kind. You super chatters. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Looking for an amp that's a 50-50, my 68 Super Reverb, and my Plexi. Plexi breakup rawness with more open, slightly scooped EQ curve. Well, two very different amps you're talking about there. 68 Super Reverb. I mean, 410 configuration Super Reverb is the two channels on a PT100 are basically, when you switch between them, that's like the difference in those sounds to me. Nothing's ever going to simulate the difference in a closed back 412 though, and an open back 410, so, but a PT100 basically has a very super reverb-ish, kind of like in between a super and a twin spec wise, the clean channel, and then the overdrive side can do good modded plexi for sure. But in one amp that's just like a single channel, I don't know what that would be. They're just so different to me. Fender and Marshall architecture, yeah. In a cheap amp, you're kind of talking about a Friedman Runt with a clean Fendery. That's basically what a Runt is. It's like a Fendery clean and a Marshall drive. 1974X is really more of it's going to be more like your Plexi, but not really super to me. It's just the Fender, the Fender, the way where the EQ is and everything in the circuit and stuff just makes it sound different. Different sound. Yeah. What greenback did EVH use? Well, back in the day, I mean, it was just, I think it was 25 watt, 75 hertz, probably the speakers of the day, which were probably blackbacks, whatever it was, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80 cabinets, those cabinets, if they had 25 watts, because that's what he liked back then. I think he used some 30 watts sometimes too, but they were a 35 ounce magnet G12M lead cone, so probably blackbacks back in the day. It certainly sounds like it to me in my cabinets. I've got a bunch of blackback speakers, about 8 of them or whatever, loaded in a couple 412s, and they sound right for that sound to me. And then, as of late, he's used his model G12. It was basically like a Heritage Greenback, same as the Heritage Greenback. Yeah. Yeah. This is interesting. Definitely see a specialist, but if you want, I can send you pics of the sheets of exercises I did to fix my shoulder if you want to try some stuff before seeing a doctor. Sure, if you don't mind. Yeah, same email, PeteThorn@ymail.com. I appreciate that. Thanks. Would love to see them. I could give it a go for a couple of weeks. I'm sure it wouldn't hurt. It's not super screwed up. Like if I'm just sitting here, I don't feel it. It's fine. But it's just when I do certain motions, I'm like, ooh, that doesn't feel right. Strange. Yeah. Okay. I've got the 20th anniversary Desert Yellow RG550. It's pretty rad, says 09 Records. Cool. Oh, yeah. I forgot that I put out this video this week and I was going to bring it up. So I'm glad you brought it up. Earthquaker, easy listening, kind of cool idea. This is a video I put out this week for this pedal, the easy listening from Earthquaker. It's just a simple one channel. Where the heck is it? It's probably here on my desk somewhere. Simplest pedal ever. Little guy. What did I do with it? I'm not seeing it in front of me. I know it's here somewhere. It's on the floor. Anyway, it's in this room somewhere. But it's just a simple single channel pedal. That's there's not even an on-off switch. It's just a volume knob. That's it. And what it is kind of a preamp circuit that's tuned to sound like a Fender Deluxe Reverb or something like that. And that's what they say. and a simple speaker sim kind of circuit. So yeah, it's basically meant to sound kind of like resemble the response of a deluxe reverb. And for a pedal board based rig, you pop it on there and run some overdrives into it, maybe a delay or compressor or something, and you've got yourself a simple little direct rig. Very simple. Very simple. Yeah. Yeah. Chuck says about his earlier comment about how gear is down. Can't speak to vintage gear, not my area of interest, but contemporary stuff on the used market is down. LTDs and Gretches when I looked a second ago, like ESP LTDs. Seems like they're cheaper. Interesting. Genesis series is best bang for your buck. Yeah, it seems like that's pretty. It sounds like a reasonable price for a Japanese-made guitar these days. $1,100, $1,200. I have originals and the reissues. They are comparable. Cheaped out on some stuff, but better value than the premium series with lots of other brands, same range. Interesting. Please don't die, says Chuck. I'll do my best. I want to stay around for a while. I missed something. Is Pete dying? I just have a. I just got off a plane yesterday, and I feel like I dodged a bullet. I feel like with getting sick. By the way, a little recommendation here for flu season and everything coming up and colds and stuff. I have this stuff from England that I got, and you can find it online. It's called First Defense. Defense spelled in the British with a C. DEFENCE. You get it from Boots in the UK, and you squirt this stuff up your nose, and kind of almost like allergy, that is like a nasal spray. And what it's supposed to do is create an acid environment in the back of your nose that is like inhospitable for viruses and things like that create colds, cause colds. I have used this stuff throughout the year. I got some in England because it was recommended to me back in January. And I've used it whenever I felt that feeling in the back of your nose where you get that pain when you wake up and you're like, uh-oh, feeling a thing in the back of my nose. And then it'll go into a full-blown cold to go down into your upper chest and all that sometimes, and you're screwed up for weeks, right? Every time I felt that, which is probably 4 or 5 times this year, I've used this stuff. And I've been traveling all over the world this year. I did not get a cold, knock on wood, this year. It seems to work, this stuff. And if you read the reviews online, everybody's like, can't believe it, but seems to work. Like, kind of amazing, this stuff. So it aims to either prevent or at least reduce the severity of colds and flu. I've never tried anything like this that actually worked. This stuff seems to work. So I used it the other day because I was feeling it coming on, maybe starting about a week ago in Japan or 6 days ago, something like that. And it seemed to work, but I did get a little touch of something. I don't know what, but a little. And anyway, I'm having that kind of, I don't know if you guys have this, but the older I get, it's like when even just a little thing, if I start coughing or I get it's just like inflammation, flare, and then all of a sudden I'm like, I might have like a coughing fit for 5 minutes or something. And then it just goes away. And that's what I just had happen. Live on the internet. Where you're just like, yeah. Friedman Runt Clean sounds like my 66 Super Reverb. There you go. Yeah. Yeah, the Runt is basically Friedman's closest thing that he has to Fender Marshall in one amp. It's basically a Fender Clean and Marshall drive. That's what it is. So for those looking for that sound, that's it. Like a Runt 50 or Runt. I think the Runt 20 doesn't have quite the same controls, but maybe it does. I'm just not 100% sure. But Runt 50 anyway is like a Fender Clean channel, Marshall drive channel. Whereas something like a small box, which some people would see as a more, superior, more deluxe, whatever, like more. It's actually, for some players, maybe not as good of a choice as the Runt, because the Runt is more Fender Marshall. Small box is a Plexi Clean, so it's basically and a BE, kind of modded Marshall drive. So it's more like 2 channels of Marshall. The Runt is the one you want if you want Fender Marshall. In the Friedman. Yep. I see your SL68 behind you. Just retube mine, I think you're trying to say, with Mullards and Titan transformer bolts. Brought down the humming noise. The amp sounds amazing. Awesome. Yeah, they're great amps. Really, really, really good amps. I agree. Yep. That's how getting old starts. This thing is happening in my body. I have no idea why, but it hurts and won't go away. Yeah, that's true. Do you set up your amps differently for recording and live? Interesting question. Yeah, probably. Uh, Live is always just it depends on the gig, you know. Recording, you're going by ear while you're doing a part. I always think probably for recording, I err on the side of cleaner, like never too much gain. And then live, you're always like, "Oh, I want this to be a little easier than it seems to be, and you might add a little more. But that's probably the one main difference is, at least in overdrive sounds, I probably use a little more distortion than I would recording a similar part in the studio, sitting down in a more controlled environment. Live, you're like, let me. I always remember Seymour Duncan pickups. Like one of the things in their ads were like more output for live use or something. I don't know. Does anybody remember that? Like on the descriptions of like, we're like hotter for like for when you want more, basically like more gain on stage. Some of it was sort of implying like, and I guess that's kind of true. It's like many times on stage, we want it to be a little easier, a little more juice, a little more whatever, a little more something when you're running around and you really want it to scream. Whereas in the studio and you're making a piece of work that's going to live on forever or whatever, you're probably best to err on the side of a little tighter, a little cleaner, a little more, a little more controlled or something. I don't know. What do you guys think? Braxel says, have you ever been to an old, really big guitar center on Main Street, Santa Ana? No, I don't think so, actually. Never. It's funny. I don't, for Orange County being as close as it is, I don't get down there that much. And there's a whole lot of Orange County that I've never seen. One of it would be that, like Main Street, Santa Ana. I have no idea. Never been there. Don't really know. There's towns down there that I've just never. It's like, oh, there's still plenty of places in California because it's so big and so vast where it's like you'll find yourself in some, like Montrose is one. There's a great music store called Grayson's Toontown that is a family-owned, 3 generations family-owned music store, good repair shop in there. And I started going there sometimes because it's not too far from Pasadena to have guitars worked on occasionally. And I'd never been to Montrose. It's like this cool little town. It feels like almost like a Northern California town or something. A cool little town center and little, coffee shops and restaurants and angle parking street, kind of like Main Street USA sort of vibe. Hadn't been there until a couple of years ago for the first time. I've been here 35 years. So this still happens. Yeah. The Louvre was robbed this morning. Seriously. Is that right? Philippe would know. He's Philippe from France, obviously. Is that right? I gotta take a look at that. Robbery. How did that come about? Thieves steal jewelry from the Louvre Museum in Paris. Priceless jewelry in 7-minute raid. Wow. How interesting. France's priceless crown jewels. Well, there will be a movie made about this. Wow. How did the theft, not to get off topic here too much, but theft occurred on Sunday between 9:30 and 9:40 local time, shortly after the museum opened to visitors. 4 thieves used a vehicle-mounted mechanical lift to gain access to the Galerie d'Apollon, Gallery of Apollo. Did I pronounce that right? Via a balcony close to the River Seine. Pictures from the scene showed a vehicle-mounted ladder leading up to a first-floor window. How did they do that in broad daylight? 2 of the thieves cut through glass panes with battery-powered disc cutter and entered the museum. They then threatened the guards, who evacuated the premises and stole items from 2 glass display cases. Museum's alarm sounded correctly, and the museum staff followed protocol by contacting security forces and protecting visitors. Huh. How did they get it? Did they get away? They smashed display cases, containing the jewels. Excuse me. No one was injured. They were experienced with a well-prepared plan to flee on 2 scooters. Crazy story. I'm gonna watch a little bit of this on the news later. Very, very fast raid. One witness described scenes of total panic as the museum was evacuated. What was stolen? A tiara and brooch. Am I saying that right? Belonging to Empress. I can't talk. I'm not gonna. I'm too tired to. But brioche. A brioche. A brooch. A brioche. No, I shouldn't have laughed. This is not funny. There's been a major theft. God, they're beautiful. Wow, emeralds and diamonds. Oh, brother. Well, hopefully they get them back. Friggin' thieves. That's not cool. Have you seen the nicotine Valium Vicodin marijuana alcohol distortion pedal? I think isn't it called nicotine Valium Vicodin ecstasy marijuana alcohol, or marijuana ecstasy and alcohol? That's a song by Queens of the Stone Age. Feel good hit of the summer, right? Forgot about that one. I should probably check that out. That'd be a cool pedal to do a video of for sure. I'm about to click on links for Classic Rock Show in January in Dorking, UK. Will you be on? I will be there. I really miss it. I'm looking forward to seeing my friends and playing those classic rock songs next year. I really enjoy playing with them. I've really, it's a good time, you know? They've become my good friends, and I miss them when I don't see them for months every year. If yes, I will buy you First Defense from Boots. I don't know what that means, but if yes, you'll get me some. Yes, I'll be there. Yeah, bring me a bottle. No, I'll have my own. It's okay. You don't have to get me any, but it's good stuff. Welcome back to the soup of crap in the air we live in the U.S. I recently got a Sir PT100, says CTS guitar. Awesome amp, super versatile. Just wish the boost circuit trim was adjustable externally. Yeah, you got to get in there to do it. That would be cool if it was a little, like, maybe even on the back panel or something. Probably just because of where it comes in the circuit, though. Like, it's mounted on the circuit board. And I guess, probably wouldn't be the hardest thing in the world to put it on a mini pod or something. But I really like the boost. I've started using it. I never really used it for a long time, to be honest. It was John's idea, and I thought it was cool, but I didn't really utilize it. And then I started to appreciate it more and more, like, just in the last few years. How cool. Like, you're running the channel 2 and 3, actually a little lower gain, and then hitting the boost is a great sound for now. You've got way more colors of gain, So it's funny. It took me a little while to utilize a feature in my own amp like I say, it was kind of John's idea. And I always thought it sounded good and stuff, but I just wasn't personally using it that much. But now I do actually use it a lot. So, yep. So what it's about an hour and 40. I'm gonna hang another 15 or so. We'll go about 2 hours, and then I'll split. I'm pretty tired, so I think I'm gonna go take a nappy and get outside for a while. How do you deal with pedals changing the tone and feel slightly compared to plugging straight into the amp despite buffers? Well, a switcher. That's what I would do if I was you. I'd get a, switch. Like, I've always got a pedal board with a switching system of some sort so that you can switch the pedals out of line. If you want to hit the amp straight in, maybe just with a buffer to account for long cable lengths and stuff, you can do that. Use the cable length that you like going into a pedal board with a good switcher on it that's got a buffer in the input stage, and then have all your pedals in the loops of the switcher. Musicom Lab, I recommend. Yeah. Lauren says that's Eric working on your guitars. Yeah. Eric is the guy at Grayson's Toontown, and he's done some work for me over there at that nice little shop. Yeah. What are the 5 or 6 must-have synergy modules? Oh, it's different for every player. I mean, I really like some of the higher gain ones that give me a different flavor than anything that I've got in here full amp wise. So like, for instance, I like the Savage, the Angle Savage. Really nice. Or maybe, the Mesa 2C. That'd be cool to have for some players. And then as far as cleaner stuff goes, probably the Bassman is kind of a good one to have for, a Fendery clean. The Friedman BB and BE is a great all-rounder because you got your 2 channels in there that it's sort of a Fender clean, like his Buxom Betty amp and then a BE channel. So that's a great one to have. The Vi one is great for Steve Vai's signature model. The smooth sounding, cool lead channel that's different than, it's good. It's a certain thing. Steve's darker, nice mids, kind of great for single note stuff. And then it's got a kind of hyper clean scooped channel 1 that I think sounds really great for that kind of, strat position 2, like, almost like Fender, more scoopy, modern, sparkly thing. Really great. I really like the Dr. Z one. Sounded, most AC 30-ish one that you can get, I think. And that new Marshall one's really nice. The new JMP one, I think, comes off really good in my video. Yeah, I mean, that's a selection there of high gain, Marshall-y, Fendery clean, modded Marshall-y, Voxy. Those are some of my favorites. Yeah. How do thieves sell what they stole from the Louvre? Well, there's enough oligarchs around these days that I'm sure there's a black market for such things. The types of people that would want such things are shady and, they live in another world that we don't even know about. So, yeah. Yep. Dorking sounds like what we did as preteens. Says Scott Brockway. Yeah, there's some neat names for towns in England if you want to look them up. Look at, like, just Google, like, I don't know, what would you search for? It's pretty funny when you look at them all. There's about 15 that are hilarious. Sort of really off color, perverted sounding actual names of towns in England. Dorkingism, that's mild. Any chance of the Setch Vibe band going on tour? I can't say, but no comment. That's all I'll comment. Yeah. Any clips? I think you mean CRS, but yeah, any clips I've seen of CRS were always really good. Song choice and sounds. Thanks. It's a fun band. Super fun. Forgot to check out the Earthquaker Devices pedal you did yesterday, so I'll watch this morning. I love everything they do. Yeah, they're a great company. They're Dispatch Master. I think that's a classic, man. It's great reverb and delay, and a pedal the size of a Phase 90. Always good. Did you ever get to meet Ace? I didn't. Yeah, Ace passed away this week. We haven't even talked about that. Sorry to hear that. I never did. No, I just never came across Ace. I've talked to Paul Stanley once on the phone for a while. We had a good phone conversation. Gene, I sort of met. I remember Gene and Paul, Peter Chris, as I was wheeling my gear into SIR once, sitting on the couch in SIR rehearsal in Hollywood, having an argument about tour, and money, and Peter Chris saying things like, I just want to make money. I just need to make more money. And Gene going, I want you to make money too. As I was wheeling my 412 cabinet past on the way into my rehearsal room, I thought, well, I think I'm hearing an argument between 2 members of KISS. Paul was very nice. Spoke to him on the phone for a while, but Ace never met. Yeah. Is it worth to buy a preamp like Friedman if I have a good model, or what? Change the playing feel and response. So you mean like the IRX? They do feel really great. The Friedman preamp tube preamp pedals do have a unique, they do really respond and feel like an amp. If you feel like you're not getting that out of a modeler or something, you're like, I wish I had a similar product, a direct kind of thing, but that was simple and that I could go into a recording interface or PA with, and I wish it felt like an amp. That's a great way to go. I think you'd probably be happy. Yep. Have you checked out the Head First Alta P1? Pretty cool on the pre-order list. I have not. I haven't seen that yet. No. I love the D-Rec, the rectifier one. Killer Cali 800 and Ecstasy for my current modules. There you go. There's a selection. What will cause a pedal board to make amp lose signal to almost nothing? Well, cables are always the first place to look. And, it could be your amp too. It could be faulty anything. It could be tube. But if you plug in direct into the amp and the signal's there, then it's probably something on the board. It's probably a connector or a pedal connect, like one of the connectors or one of the cables, patch cables. Cables are always the weak link, I find. You want to eliminate the chance of any possibility that it could be a bad cable, right away, just right out of the gate. Just try and eliminate that possibility, because it's generally a cable. That's the weak link in any guitar rig, is cables, right? I'm sure you guys have found the same thing, Are you still planning on Tonex presets? Thought about doing a few for the bass, more so. Tonex brought out the bass version. Yeah, I'd like to do a signature package with them eventually, actually. I really want to do that. Where is your Friedman Jose? I don't know. Can you ask Dave that? You ask him for me. Where's Pete's Jose? Why doesn't he have one? I had the Legacy 3 and matching 212, but sold it because I never really bonded with it. The shared EQ for channel 2.3 didn't work as well as the PT15. Interesting. I don't know. Okay. Moving down in the chat. They opened a new Guitar Center in Fountain Valley. The one in Santa Ana is not there anymore. Interesting. Paul Stanley's son is involved with a guitar company called Rock and Roll Relics. That's interesting. I didn't know that. That's Billy's company, right? They make cool guitars. I didn't know that. Paul Stanley's son does some good videos on, playing and singing with Gene's son too, right? On the YouTubes. Yeah. Cable testers are not expensive, and anyone who have cables should have one. Yeah. I mean, it's always, cables are always the weak link. I changed tubes, cables 3 times, patch cables, and tried elimination technique, but still right in the middle of a solo and signal drops. Yeah, as if it's one of those intermittent things, it's always difficult. Could it be the amp, I know how you feel. An intermittent problem like that, and then it just goes away and everything seems fine, and then all of a sudden, it's really hard to diagnose. All I can say is, probably start with the amp, and then you already tried the elimination, but I don't have any, I don't have beyond. If you're still having the same issue, it could actually be a physical problem in the amplifier too. You can have things. I've had issues like that where it's been actually like a problem in the, like it could be a broken solder trace or like anything. You know what I mean? Like it's tough. Where things like relays on amps and things fail, and then intermittently lose signal. Sometimes with the amps it's tough, because if you put enough juice through a preamp, like it's getting enough voltage, then it works. And then like if it's not all of a sudden, then then it doesn't work, and it becomes it's like little things. It's hard, to diagnose such things. So sorry about that. I don't have better. Yeah. It's a Marshall amp, and it plays amazing with no pedals. So you think it could be the board, huh? Could be a problem internally in a pedal where it's intermittent. This is the issue with guitar rigs. It's I feel your pain, though. I'm sorry I don't have any better suggestions other than just try and isolate what it is. Play through the amp for a long time. If nothing happens, add one thing back at a time until it happens. It's going to be something. Yeah. I'm sorry. I totally feel your pain. I've had these things happen. I had a thing happen the other day that was totally confusing to me, where I had a loss of high end while I was in sound check, where it almost sounded like capacitance, like a lot. Like it's like if you went to a 40-foot cable, and like it was like, whoa, all the high end just closed down. And then I thought, am I imagining it? Was the sound just darker? Like, because there was a lot of volume happening, things happened at the time. It was at the gig we just did in Tokyo, and sound check, and I'm like, no, I don't know. And then I kind of got used to it, and I was like, I don't know, maybe I'm just crazy and my ears suck today. And then it all came back all of a sudden, like while I'm playing. I'm like, God damn it. And then it never happened on the show, I don't think. And it was cool, but it was like, what is that? Like, is it the wireless? Is it like, but it was this weird, it sounded like switching in a whole bunch of cable capacitance all of a sudden, No clue what it was. Everything's been working great, and then that happened. It was like, very strange. Yeah. True World says, bought 2 new True Tone power supply and also a power conditioner. You're the best. Just your kind word soothes my mind. Oh, thanks, man. Well, yeah, I just want you to figure out what it is, but I know how difficult it can be. I'm really fortunate in that I've got guys like Sir and Friedman, to help me diagnose and troubleshoot such things, what it can be. But sometimes when you're out there on the road and you're in a different country, and it's kind of like a high pressure situation where there's a lot happening at once, and then something happens, you're like, oh no, like, especially the language barrier can be tough for me. By the way, my tech's amazing on this tour in Japan right now. He cares so much, he works really hard. But a problem like that, he's like there and he's trying to help me, but he speaks a little bit of English, and I've got my limited Japanese, and between the two of us, we try and figure out what's going on. But boy, it can be tough in the heat of the moment to try and diagnose something like that with the added language barrier and all that. It's just crazy, but you get through it. So yeah. Does the Tone X pedal allow the VH patch soft? Yeah, you can put those Van Halen captures or whatever you want to call them. Definitely you can load those in the Tone X pedal. Yep. Yeah. What do you do when you solo? Do you move differently? Do you use a boost? There's a lot of factors there. Do I move differently? I make rock faces. Do you use a boost? I generally use an Archer, but my main solo sound for a number of years now has just been PT100 channel 3 with just a little more gain than I have channel 2 set for, but then I'm also hitting it with an Archer generally. And adding a stereo delay and stuff like that generally. Yeah. So yeah, little stereo delay, Archer, volume boost, rock faces. Away you go. Yeah. Yeah. All right, you guys. Well, I think I'm gonna split. Gonna go get some sleep because I'm just feeling like kind of thrashed, and I feel like naps do me good these days in situations like this. Not too long. You can't go that far, but I'm gonna crash out for 30 or so and then wake up and carry on with the rest of my day. So I'll see you next week. I'll be here It'll be the 26th next week. I'll be right here in this studio hanging with you guys. And then I think I'll have one more after that. Is that right? Yeah, I think so. The 2nd or something like that. And then it'll be time to head back to Japan for a couple weeks. So next couple weeks I'll be here in the studio. Some videos coming. I got to get editing done. I've had them in the can for a long time, but I've got for this Mirrors pedal right here. Oh, sorry, not a Mirrors pedal. What I just saw, Manus. That's what I meant. I mixed up Manus with the company Mirrors, but this is a Keeley, and it's a Keeley. Speaking of claw and cell pedal, it's kind of one of their sort of takes on a pedal, and it's their take on claws, I think. Yeah, if I do remember correctly, with a couple little neat features that you can flip in and out. Good sounding pedal, really good. So video coming for that. And Crazy Tube Circuits as well, the Venus pedal. I've got a video coming for that. And I've been meaning to put those out forever. And I'm really sorry to both companies that I haven't done it yet, but I've just been so slammed on the road and everything. Get them edited and out over the next couple of weeks because they're all shot and everything. It's just a little bit editing I gotta do and uploading. Sorry, I feel like I'm gonna fall asleep. So I'm gonna go. Super jet lagged here in Los Angeles. Time for a nappy. Thanks for hanging with me through my respiratory episode. And we'll see you next week. I'll be right here in this very place, right here in this very chair. Thanks for hanging with me and through the weird time changes and all that, and my trips and my tours and all that, and being good people. It's Pete Thorn from the Satchby Band signing off. See you, folks. Have a great week.